Welcome to the Easier Way to Sell presentation of Close the Deal Without Selling. Here's your host and developer of the Easier Way to Sell, Ike Krieger.
Hey, this is Ike Krieger. Welcome back. I make it a point to do a lot of networking on social media, and it has been so worthwhile. The people that I've met have just made my life better, and we're very fortunate to have one of those people as our guest today. His name is Alex Goldfayn, and Alex has written a book called 5-Minute Selling. And it's a way with 5 minutes a day to increase your business by 10 to 20% over the next 6 to 12 months. And you can start using what Alex teaches you in his book immediately. And the beauty of it is it lines right up with the Easier Way to Sell, which I'm sure you'll recognize right away. The author of 5-Minute Selling, Alex Goldfayn, grows companies. He's the CEO of the Revenue Growth Consultancy, which works with organizations to install positive mindsets and systems of simple behaviors that routinely generate an additional 10 to 20% in new sales annually. He's obviously a man after my own heart. His clients include manufacturers, distributors, and business-to-business service organizations, typically in mature industries that make the world go round. Not only does Alex regularly implement the systems in this book for his clients, but he also applies the approach in his own firm, one of the highest grossing and most successful solo consulting practices of any kind in America. Throughout the year, Alex delivers more than 75 workshops and keynote speeches for companies, executive groups, and associations. And his previous book is the Wall Street Journal bestseller, Selling Boldly. I know you'll enjoy this conversation, so listen and discover yet another approach to turn your contacts into contracts more easily and more often. Let's welcome Alex Goldfayn. Alex, I'm so happy to have you here. Your introduction is a great way to have people know just how fortunate they are to have you here to tell them how to bolster and maybe even enhance their current sales activity. So welcome.
Thank you for having me, Ike. I don't know if it's quite that dramatic, and it's also a lot of pressure on my head, so thank you.
Well, I'm sorry if I put the pressure on. I looked at the book, and you created it for yourself, my friend.
Just kidding. Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. I have a question right off about 5-minute selling, and this book is just coming out right now, and Alex, maybe tell us a little bit about that and why you wrote this book.
Sure. So the premise of 5-minute selling is that if you can give a combined 5 minutes of proactive activity, proactive communication with customers and prospects per day, 5 minutes a day, you can dramatically grow your sales. I've done this process with more than 10,000 individual salespeople in my projects with my clients, and I work with sales organizations, so I work with groups of salespeople. But I've seen, that many salespeople do this, and some have doubled their sales in 5 minutes a day. Some have tripled their sales. Now, that's not the norm, but some have. And I'm suggesting to you that you can make a lot more money for your company, for your family, by communicating proactively in system, right? So constantly, all the time with customers and prospects. And I have a chapter early on in the book that says, it's titled, I don't want you to read this book. I want you to do this book. The book is a system.
And describe a system the way that you get that across to your readers and your listeners so they go, oh, that's what he's talking about.
Yeah. Somebody asked me the other day, what is the most exciting part of the book to you? Like, what's the part, when you write a book, there's a part that sticks out in your head as kind of being the one that's like, yeah, that's,
My
that's
baby.
it. That's the piece. So here's the piece for me. An action is like a snowflake. It's fleeting. If you happen to call a customer on the phone when you happen to think of it, and you make that call and then you don't again for a few more days, and then you remember to do it, and maybe you do it again or don't, but then on Friday you do one more here and there. These are snowflakes that fall to the ground and melt, right? Actions are fleeting. Now, a system is a collection of actions that's done consistently over time. So a system is, today I'm going to reach out to 5 customers and try to schedule a conversation with them. And tomorrow I'm going to do 5 more. And then the next day I'm going to do 5 more. And every day from here on out forever, I'm going to do 5 more. So 5 proactive phone calls a day to customers and prospects is 25 a week, is 100 a month, is 1,200 a year.
Doesn't everyone make 25 calls a week?
No, not everybody does.
No, they don't.
Do less. Some people do. And you don't even have to make 25 calls. You simply have to request 25 conversations, right?
Okay, that's a distinction.
That's an email or a text message that says, hey, Ike, how are you? I was thinking about you. Let's catch up, right? And that's a 3-second effort. Mm-hmm. And so I'm saying, give me 5 minutes like that in a day. So if you do that and you get to your 1,200 call requests and you have 600 or 700 phone calls, because these are people what happens is, instead of snowflakes melting, you get a freaking blizzard. You get a blizzard of activity, of progress, of new sales.
And you create it because you are being proactive, and that is distinct from its counterpart. Why don't you tell us what you write in the book about the counterpart to proactive selling?
Thank you. Thanks for actually reading the book and then leading me into these things. I appreciate it. That's very good.
Hey, well, I'm doing my best with what I got.
You're a professional. You're a pro. So 90% of salespeople, I think, sell reactively, right? Which means we take orders, the phone rings, we answer the phone, and on that other end of the line is somebody with an order, which is urgent, right? Nobody says, hey, listen, take 6 weeks whenever you're ready, right? Just get to it when you can. No, we pick up the phone when it's urgent. So we have an urgent order, or customers are calling with a problem, which you have to solve, and we have to do that. We're in the customer service business. Or they're calling with something they're upset about. You did it wrong, or you sent me the wrong amount, or where the hell is it? It's late. And all day we spend reacting to those incoming problems and concerns and urgencies. And almost none of us take the few minutes that proactive work requires to reach out to customers and prospects when nothing is wrong. Because just as customers only call us when something is wrong, they tend to only hear from salespeople also only when something is wrong.
Yeah.
And hey, I don't have enough, or I can't get it to you, or I can't make it, right? Or I can't be there as scheduled, or we need to reschedule, or that's when salespeople pick up the phone. So if you can call somebody when nothing is wrong and say to them, I was thinking about you, how are you? How's your family? What will happen is you will be the only one making that phone call to this customer. You'll be the only one. They're sitting in silence. And so when we are proactive, especially now. Yeah. When we are proactive, we are showing people that we care. And so I'm not suggesting that your listeners and viewers, and by the way, they're viewing us, right? This is video.
Yes. Yes. I force them to do that, or I force them to listen, but they have no other alternative.
All right, good. So I'm glad I put on my presentable clothes today. I put on my professional wear, which these days is a short sleeve.
Yeah, really. These are our new, I like my tie.
Clothes. Yeah. My wife is like, you're really dressed up today. I'm like, can you imagine saying that like 6 months ago, right? That a polo shirt and shorts is dressed up. So I'm not suggesting to our viewers that they need to care more. I am suggesting that they need to communicate that they care a little bit more. Because if we care without telling customers and prospects that we care, nobody knows. It's like a tree falling in the forest, right? Nobody knows what's happening. So we need to communicate that care. And 5 minutes selling over my shoulder there is a system for doing so. And how will customers thank us? With their money. They will thank us with their money.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I became readily aware of was the difference that you portrayed between going to your current market versus going to a new market. And to be candid with you, I really hadn't thought about the true treasure of business sitting with your current market that you're really not thinking of because they haven't reached out to you to tell you they had a problem. And, it's the old line of don't trouble trouble until trouble troubles you. I'm a believer of the exact opposite. And your system allows you to trouble trouble before it troubles you and be proactive, if I can use your term.
It allows you to help customers, right? It allows us to help people. So I mean, I think it's an important topic that you raised that we should talk about. All of us have customers and prospects whose names we know and who know our names. We have hundreds of them. If we've been doing the work that we're in currently, whether it's for this company or another company that you used to be at, right? If you've been selling for any amount of time, for a year or two or three, or much more, which is the case for me, we all know hundreds of people. We know their names and they know ours. They know who we are and we know them. Let's talk to them, right? It's the perfect person to call. And I've already said this more than once, and I'll keep saying it because this is how easy it is. Ike, how are you? I was thinking about you. It's been a while since we've talked. How's your family? How are you doing through the pandemic? How's the summer going? Tell me about the kids and what about school? What's going to happen in the fall? And by the way, there are no cold calls. We can come back to this now, but in a pandemic, there's literally no cold calls because we all have so much in common that we're all dealing with, and we can talk about those things and the call is immediately warm. But the gold mine,
if I can break back in, and I'm sorry about that the whole commonality conversation that has fallen out of favor of, I can see you're a fisherman. I can see the picture over there. And, this, though, is the most amazing commonality, the pandemic, that any of us have ever experienced. Absolutely. So I'm sorry for cutting in, but it's really powerful.
It's important. There are no cold calls right now. And it's going to be this way for a long time, because here are the things to talk about: family, the job, where we are working from, which is home or office. Either way, we have that in common. School and what's going to happen there. Summer and travel plans. Did you go anywhere or not? Right. And how was that? Did you fly? Did you do the hotel? There's so many things to talk about. We're all selling from a different physical place that we used to sell from. There is no more face-to-face for most of us.
This reminds me of professional networking kind of forced up a level where you really are just concentrating on relationships. And if they know you, you're able to say, by the way, and I love your line. Did you know that we have this now? And really be able to open up a different conversation without coming off like, I've got to sell you something to live. So buy.
That's right.
It's very good.
When it's cold, we're at 0. When it's cold, really cold. Cold. If we have a good relationship with somebody, we're at 100, right? We know each other. This pandemic takes the 0 and raises it up to 50. We're halfway to a relationship just because we're all dealing with the same issues and struggles and challenges, and we're all overcoming them in our own ways. So let's talk about them. Talk about warming up a conversation.
Instant rapport. This next segment with Alex harkens back to the conversation that we had some episodes ago about a road in Alaska that is still made of dirt and mud rather than asphalt, because every year it gets so cold that if it were made out of asphalt, it would freeze, it would crack, it would break up, and they'd have to build a new road every year. So with a road made of dirt with snow and the environment, you have to figure that that road is going to turn into mud in Alaska's version of the spring. And what happens is cars driving through the mud create little ruts in the mud. And when it finally warms up a little bit, these ruts dry out, but they're still deeply implanted in the road. And if you get into one of them, you're stuck in that rut. And there's a sign at the beginning of this 100-mile stretch of road that says, choose your rut wisely. You're going to be in it for a long time. I think now we'll be able to look at that as how you niche your prospects. Into what basket do you put them that causes you to respond and react with them in the way you do? Let's hear Alex's take on niching. So you mentioned, and I wrote this down, is that we niche our customers. Tell me about that, because I just did a podcast on that with a little different term. So I want your take on this. They already got mine.
Okay. And then I want to hear your take.
All right.
So customers niche us and we niche them. So you have customers that have been buying from you for years, and they call you for that thing that they've been buying for a long time. And that's what you do for them. In their mind, that's the thing you do. Now, that's this much. And since we're using video, but we can sell that much. That's 100% of what we sell. But they buy maybe, 1 or 2 or 5% of what we sell. They have no idea about the other 90%. Similarly, we salespeople niche our customers. We say, this is what they buy from us. They don't need anything else. If they needed it, they would ask. It doesn't work that way. They don't ask us. Why? They can't ask us. Why? Because they don't know what else we sell. How can you ask about something if you don't know it's an option? So we niche them, they niche us. I call it mutually assured niching, right? And the way to grow business is just to expand that niche and say to somebody, hey, Joe, did you know that we also can help you with this or that? Did you know that we help this other customer with these other things? Now, do you need any of those? So that's how to unniche and open your customer's mind to the fact that you can help them with other things. Now, a caveat, a nuance of this is just because you tell somebody something doesn't mean they know, right? Because every single salesperson has heard this stupid phrase, I didn't know you did that, right? We've all heard that. And we say back to the person, dude, I know it was you, and I told you 2 weeks ago, right? The same thing, and I know it was you. And you had the exact same reaction back then. I didn't know you did that. So just because we tell somebody something doesn't mean it sticks or it lands or they remember. And the reason for that is they're not thinking about our stuff all the time. Mm-hmm. Thinking about their stuff, right? They have other issues. We're thinking about our stuff. They're thinking about their stuff. So just because you tell somebody something doesn't mean they know, which means we have to tell people over and over and over again. And that doesn't happen because we're uncomfortable doing that. It's not a comfortable thing to do. So it doesn't happen.
Well, I received a letter not long ago accusing me of teaching sales hypnosis. And I thought about it and I giggled a little bit because I pictured, somebody going, look into my eyes and buy from me. But I gave it some real thought and I did some research, and I have dabbled in the heightened state of internal awareness, which I believe we all go through. I was telling a story that I was with my wife the other night. We were listening to an audiobook, and I was thinking about a segment for my podcast, and I didn't hear probably 30 to 40 seconds of the audiobook. And I had gone into an internal state of heightened awareness, and that shut off my ears. I was in trance. Now, I really hadn't thought about it as being in trance before, but what the research said is we should be less concerned about putting our prospects or the people we want or the people that we meet and communicate with in some type of trance where they'll do what we want. Our job is to not only untrance them, but untrance ourselves. And one of the comments that lined up with your conversation was that prior to going into a sales call or getting on the phone, we have preconceived notions about what's going to happen, about what happened a week ago on a call like this, and how you either want that to happen or don't want, unfulfilled expectations, etc. And the question was, how do you take all of that trance-like conversation out of your head so you can approach it with a clear, clean frame of mind and actually be able to communicate from a point of service? And that really, just when I read about the niching, I went, oh yeah, everybody's in trance. They all have preconceived notions. Just drop it. So that's my take on trance.
I think that everybody is in running around busy trance, and if it's a trance, the trance is they don't have the time to dig into everything you do from your catalog or from your website.
Mm-hmm.
They just buy the thing that they've been buying. And the reason for that, I think, is twofold. Busyness, they're running around, and our fear and discomfort with telling people what else they can buy.
Don't want to sound salesy.
Yeah, that's right. We don't want to bother the customer. We don't want to lose the customer. Sure. Look, if you're my customer and you're buying something from me for 10 years, and I tell you about another product that I can help you with, which you probably need, the fear is this is automatic. We don't even think this through. This happens instantly in our heads. Psychologically, it's in our subconscious. What happens is the fear, if I tell you about another product, is that I will lose you for the product that you've been buying for 10 years. I'm going to make you so upset by trying to help you more with this other product that you're going to take off and leave, and I'll lose what I have already.
My professional clients would go through that a lot, especially attorneys and accountants who had other things, updates and everything that they did according to Hoyle, but none that they were able to market as, hey, I want to bring you up to speed on this. And you find some that do, and they're the ones with the big offices. Mm-hmm. So you're right on with that. What effect does this niching have on the attitude and mindset of the people that use the system, and how do you get them to give that up? Not, we've talked about me saying stop it, but how are you dealing with that with your clients?
I think the solution is that, again, we must systematically tell customers and prospects about more of what they can buy from us. So I'll tell you a quick story, and I tell this story in just about every single talk or speech that I do. And the story is, I was at the Minneapolis airport and I was buying an iced coffee because that's what I drink. And there was a young lady behind the counter, and she was probably 20 years old. And she said to me, would you like a bottle of water with that coffee? And I said, oh my God, she just asked me the did you know question, which is a chapter in the book and one of the techniques that I teach in the system of selling more. And I said, do they teach you how to ask this question? She said, yes, they do. It's a part of our training. I said, how many people buy a bottle of water? She said, almost everybody. So, because I'm at the airport, of course I need a bottle of water, right? I'm going on an airplane. Guess how much the water cost, Ike?
$4.
Yeah, you were there. It's $5 bottle of water. It's a big bottle. It's like one of those big bottles of water. Guess how much the coffee cost?
$2.
Yeah, $3. So you have a simple question, which takes 2 seconds to ask. Would you like a bottle of water with that? And this coffee shop nearly triples its revenue from $3 to $8, not with coffee, which is what I'm niching them for. I'm at the Caribou Coffee Shop. That's what it was. So of course I'm going to buy a cup of coffee. I'm not going there to buy water, am I? And they unniched me. And I bought water, and almost everybody buys water. And they nearly triple their revenue with a simple question. So the answer to your question is, how do you undo this? The answer is we have to ask everybody a did you know question or two, right? What's your bottle of water? If you're watching us right now, what's your bottle of water? What are your customers buying elsewhere? Because I was going to go down the terminal and buy my bottle of water, right? At the gift shop or at the newsstand or whatever, right? That's where you buy water, where they sell the magazines and the candy, right? So what's your bottle of water? Don't make them go elsewhere. Why would you put them through that? Why would you put them through having to go to another supplier or provider? You help them.
Well,
they want you to help them.
Your question just came up. What can you help them buy that they're not already buying from you? Was that the question?
Yeah. What are they buying elsewhere that they could buy from you? Because they'd like to buy it from you, and you would like to sell it to them, right? Nobody wants question. Sorry?
That's a powerful question.
Yeah, thank you. Nobody wants 4 providers when they can do it with one. You know, I have a handyman, and he comes to the house, and he recently he installed some light bulbs on our driveway on the floodlight. So when my wife takes the dogs out, it lights up at night. He put some shelves together for my wife. He unclogged the kids' drains in their sink, because God knows what they throw down there, right? I have 11-year-old twins. Who knows what's down there? And he took some scratches out of the floor, right? Because the dog scratched the floor up, and he touched it up. So that's 4 things, right? He charged me $150 for this, and he did all 4 things. Now, if I didn't have him, if I didn't have one guy, I would have needed a carpenter for the shelves, right? An electrician for the light. I would have needed because he actually installed the lights. I would have needed a flooring guy to take out the scratches in the floor, and I would have needed a plumber
to
unclog the kid's sink. I don't want 4 guys. Yeah. I got my guy, right? My guy does all of it. And I'm telling you, when you're in sales, you be the guy, right? Or woman who helps your customers. They don't want to go to 3 others like you, because you can't just go to 3. I can't just call the first one that pops up. I need to talk to 3 of each for each of those things, don't I? I got to talk to 3 plumbers to find one. I got to talk to 3 carpenters to find one. So nobody wants to live like that. They just want their guy. You be the guy. You help them. They want your help. Help them. Don't take it away from them.
You just really came up with a recipe for a strategy in terms of people being clear on what they want and trying to get it all in one place. But because of the trance, because of the niche thinking, everybody's thinking, well, I'm going to have to get individual people, and never really move up to that next logical level of, can I find someone that can do all of them? And that ability to move back and forth between those logical levels, I find in people who are more effective in adapting to recipes, systems, and types of formulas, because they're able to quickly move between those different horizontal levels of effectiveness. The takeaway from this segment is that you have at least 2 choices. One being, choose your rut wisely, because whatever rut you choose, you're going to be in it for a while, and that includes niching your prospects and clients. Or 2, you can build a rut of your own that takes you exactly where you want to go. And between the 2, I'll let you make the choice of which will be more beneficial. Let's talk about text messages with Alex Goldfayn. The one thing that I really found interesting is your conversation about text messages versus emails. And you mentioned it early, but what is your preference and why?
So I think if we can't be face-to-face with our customers and prospects, which is always best, but really, let's say there wasn't a pandemic and we could meet face-to-face like we did at the beginning of the year, in 2020 when we were recording this, and you can meet as many people as you want. Maybe you can meet with 5 or 6 people in a day, right? Yeah. I've had some salespeople tell me they can meet with 10. Okay, I don't really want to live like that, right? 10 meetings in a day, that's a lot of running around.
That's
right?
Willy Loman, yeah.
Yeah, and how much quality are you really getting there, really, right? How much time do you get to spend with people? At that point, I feel like you're sort of racking up a count as opposed to building relationships, So, but face-to-face is best in terms of relationship building. In terms of selling from a distance, everything besides face-to-face is ranked like this. The telephone is number 1 by a mile and a half, right? There is no close second. All the other ones combined aren't even halfway as good as the telephone altogether. So the telephone is number one. Next, you have the non-telephone methods of communication. You have email and you have text messaging, the two most common ones, right? For me, the text message is always more effective than email. The reason is the text message is a little more intrusive. The text message is more active. It comes up on my phone, and I've got my phone next to me at all times, and it pops up as an alert. And even as we talk here, I look down, and when the phone lights up, you look down, right? Everybody does that. We're trained, right? Like circus seals.
Who wants me?
Yeah. And so a text, assuming you have a cell phone relationship with your customers and prospects. And right now, in the middle of a pandemic, when almost, when very few people are at the office, we need cell phones. Yeah. Most of us have cell phones, and meaning we have the cell phone number of our customers and prospects. So text messaging is far more effective because the person sees it immediately. Sometimes it even tells you that they've seen it, right? It changes, seen at, it gives you a time read at, right? And email, conversely, I don't know if it got there. I don't know which mailbox it landed in. Did it get into their inbox, or is it in their junk folder? I don't know if they saw the email. I don't know if they then read or opened the email, right? Did they open it? Did they see that it landed? Did they open it? Did they read it? Did it stick in their heads? I don't know any of these things, especially if they haven't replied. Now I'm wondering, well, I don't know if they got it or not. Maybe they didn't like what I wrote. Maybe they're mad at me. Maybe I've upset them. Maybe they hate me. Or maybe they just didn't see it. I don't know anything, right? I literally don't know anything when I send an email. Also, we get a lot of emails. Getting an email is not thought of particularly enthusiastically by buyers.
It was 30 years ago.
Yeah, right. I mean, how many emails do we get? All of us now probably get over 100 emails a day.
Easy.
Especially if you add the inbox to the junk folders, to the spam folders, and so forth. So, and then you have to wade through all the crap to get to the relevant ones. And then maybe you find the relevant one or not. So it's a very long way to say to you that the text message is the second best and most effective communications technique that we have, but the telephone is far, far and away the best one.
Well, it would seem that there's a disruption factor in both a telephone and in text that is not available in email unless you have one of those that is constantly bombarding you with, you've got mail, and are able to really put it through. The other ones actually disrupt your pattern. They are pattern interrupts.
Yeah.
And
I said intrusive, but your word is better. Disruptive is better than intrusive.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
The other thing is, it's interesting. We hesitate sometimes to text people because we don't know if it's appropriate, or, we don't want to be, overbearing in our communications, too forward. What I found, because I go to text instantly. If I've got a way to text, I text, even if it's the first communication,
Interesting.
And I'll tell you what I do with it. I've already mentioned it, but it's important, I think, for salespeople to use it this way.
Listen up.
So, was that the trancing? Was that the hypnosis?
I was just telling them to listen. They're sitting there probably either in their car or their house, wondering how long this is going to go on, and I want them to listen.
So nobody's ever said to me, "Don't text me. Stop texting me here." Right? Nobody. Literally, in 20 years of selling, and that's how you get old, when you've been doing something for 20 years. Not once has somebody said, "I'd rather you not text me. Email me instead." No, they reply. You text somebody, 90% of the time you get a reply back. 90% of the time. Now, how many email replies back do you get? Here is what I use text messages and emailing for. The only decent use of email in the selling process is to schedule phone calls. But the text message is a far more effective tool to schedule phone calls with than the email. There's a second halfway decent use of email, and that is to follow up on quotes and proposals. As a follow-up tool, it's okay. The text message, much, much better to follow up. Those two things are wonderful uses for texting and emailing.
Now, it's important that we make, again, a distinction between email marketing, which is a whole different animal, and contacting people in order to maintain or bolster relationships.
Yes.
They're two different animals. They're
Totally.
spelled the same, but they're not the same.
Yeah.
So this texting idea, I think, is grand. And I invite everybody who's listening and people on your teams that they give some thought to this. Just this past week, somebody asked me to describe the best use of the Close the Deal Without Selling action guide. And I said, it's like a machete. It'll help you chop your way through those things that are keeping you back from reaching your destination. Now, I've never compared anything I've written to a machete, but we all remember somewhere in some movie somebody chopping their way through and finding what they're looking for. So, go to closethedealwithoutselling.com and get your copy of this action guide and teaching manual. And who knows, I may have a promotion soon where I'm giving away a machete scabbard. No machetes, but at least the scabbard. We'll see about that. Let's get back to Alex. I got a kick reading this book. I love to learn and see things in a new light. It gave me a different perspective on how to deal with people that you consider to be already in your, what would you call it, field of, when you have not power, influence, your field of influence. Getting old, forgetting the word influence, my God.
Happens to me every day.
So in your circle of influence, to be able to let them know not only that you might have something for you, but that, believe it or not, that you're okay.
Yeah.
That they're okay, that life in some way is going on. So here's what I have to say after reading the book and having our conversation is get a copy of this book. What I teach you is language and language skills that'll help you be more effective in places where you may not have been before. There's nothing in my training program or in the podcast that gives you a system for getting on the phone, taking it as clearly as you can, you can use any of our SMART goals, you can use anything that we've talked about, but set this up as a project. And before you can do that, you have to get the book. So, Alex, tell us where everyone can get your book.
Thank you, Ike, for those kind words. The book is sold wherever books are sold. And so you can go to Amazon, you can go to barnesandnoble.com. You can probably walk into your local bookstore and get it. It's published by Wiley. It's actually interestingly releasing in the UK concurrently with the US, which is rare for a book. My last book, Selling Boldly, is a Wall Street Journal bestseller. So I think that hopefully has something to do with it. We're trying to get this book off to a successful launch as well. And then if you get the book and you go to my website, which is my last name, goldfayn.com, Goldfayn, goldfayn.com. Go to my website. You can download there are 2 planners and 2 trackers that are in the book that are kind of the core of the 5-minute selling system. And so there's planners for your phone calls and for your follow-ups. And then there's trackers for your quote follow-up and for your just activity throughout the day where you can log what you're doing. And this tracker becomes a gold mine for following up. So those are free tools that you can download at my website, goldfayn.com. And then the book is built around them, so you can utilize them as you go through your 5-minute selling process. One last thing, there's a 2-week challenge in the book where I ask you to give it 2 weeks at 5 minutes a day, which 10 business days is 50 minutes. 50 minutes total, right? 50 out of 80 hours of work week time. And if you can give 50 minutes out of 80 hours to this proactive work, which is calling customers, telling them what else you can do for them, following up on quotes, asking for the business, writing a handwritten note is one of our techniques too, right? Very technical and complicated. If you can give 5 minutes a day of that, you will see sales improvement. You will see more opportunities. You will see more sales progress towards a close. And of course, you will close more business. Give me 2 weeks and you will see that progress in your sales work, and you'll take home more money to your family.
Action, action, action. I know that that's a big part of your coaching. One of the things that I found very interesting, and we'll kind of end on this, was your use of closed-end questions as a way of communicating your information to people. Almost all your questions are closed-end, which can be answered by yes or no, or really work into your system elegantly. In my system, I tell people to avoid closed-end questions because they usually close the conversation, except in one instance, and that's when rapport and relationship has already been established. And what Alex has talked to you about, and what I'm urging you to do, is remember when you read this book that this is a perfect situation in which closed-end questions could really seal the deal, because you are actually communicating with someone with whom you have relationships. So I thought that was really interesting, and I thought you should know that, oh no, Ike says don't use closed-end questions. This is the perfect case when a closed-end question puts the nail in. It really does. So acknowledgement on that too, Alex. This has been great. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks for having me on. I'm grateful to be here with your audience, and I really appreciate you having me on. I'm grateful.
Excellent. Well, I can only say stay healthy, you and yours, and don't be surprised if I give you a call and ask you how things are going.
Good. Well, I look forward to that, and all the best to you as well, and to our viewers also.
Take care.
Thank you, Ike.
I really enjoyed that conversation a lot. Alex has so much to offer, and once again, I invite you, I implore you, go and get a copy of his book, 5 Minute Selling. I learned a lot. You'll learn a lot. And when you combine it with what we're doing with the easier way to sell, I think you're going to be very pleased. So I got no stake in Alex selling his book except helping you be a much better salesperson. Make sure you check out the video of the entire conversation on our YouTube channel. This is Ike Krieger. See you next time.